Daily Lift, number 27. How's it going out there? Okay, so yesterday we were talking about Bob and my new education course, Lease Option Empire. And there are a lot of people teaching lease options out there. It is a great strategy for real estate investing. But the thing that Lease Option Empire is going to bring, the secret sauce, is how to raise private money. And I am convinced the reason we have been able to raise over $5 million in private money is because of our mindset. I know that when I get on a phone call with a private investor, I know that I am creating a ton of value for them. I know that they are an underserved market. The bottom line is this right now, is if you make over $100,000 to probably $300,000, there is no real great investment planner or asset manager who is giving you any sort of like sweet deal, any sort of deal that isn't heavily regulated and that can actually get a decent return. I think right now most qualified plans, even with the stock market at all-time highs, even if they're making a 20% return because of taxes and fees, they're really only putting 10 in their pocket. So with us, when there's a private loan, there is no fees, there is no bullshit. It's straight up, here is your interest, and let's keep going. So I was thinking this morning about a book I read a long time ago called The Rational Optimist, and this really got me going into entrepreneurship. But The Rational Optimist by Matt Ridley, and I'll leave a link to it in the comments here. But the guy's contention is that things today are better than they've ever been, and the media and the government have to convince you otherwise, and it's absolute horseshit. So the media has to convince you that things are definitely worse than they are because they need, if it bleeds, it leads. They need to keep your eyes riveted to the screen so that you're freaking out and you think that you're like addicted to it. You got to watch the news report every day. And the government, of course, has to tell you everything's horrible because they have to convince you that you need them. So the Rational Optimist just basically goes through rationally and says like, look, I think this book was written like 2015. But it's 2015, and everything is absolutely great right now. The richest dude in the 1950s would love to live as a poor person today, just because of the internet, because of cell phones, because of the developments in medical technology. So what does that have to do with real estate and investing? It has to do with this. So Matt Ridley, at the end of the book, he basically says, the reason things are getting so much better is because entrepreneurs are just sitting there and figuring things out constantly. And they're doing it with private contracts, and they're doing it privately. And they don't need subsidies, and they don't need a bunch of bureaucrats or regulators regulating them to create new shit. Entrepreneurs are born to create new things. So private money, private loans, private contracts, all these three terms triggered me. And I started thinking, wow, I saw a lot of people in a way get crushed with a qualified plan, which is heavily regulated, lots of compliance, and a ton of money is sent to them, and no one really gets financially free from them. If you remember the movie The Big Short, it's like they saw the crash coming, the SEC was in place, and they are asleep at the wheel. And so one of my personal triggers is that if there's a bunch of compliance, a bunch of regulation, the only people getting wealthy from that are, one, the bureaucrats because they keep their job, and two, the lawyers because they're ensuring all the compliance. So big business, big government all wants all that, so things are so slow, nothing can happen. So back to private loans and real estate. But that's my mindset when I solicit a private lender for a loan. It's like I know in one of my 1,000 square foot, 3-bedroom, 1-foot houses inside St. Louis, Missouri, I know that it's a better deal than sending their money off to Wall Street. I know what they're getting in Wall Street is absolute crap, what they're most likely going to pay ordinary income tax on, which is absolute crap that an investor pays ordinary income. Only in qualified plans does that happen. So the other thing about my mindset when I go into a meeting with a private lender, and Bob and I have raised over $5 million in private money because we're securing this money with one lender, one property, one investor on one note, so that they are secured. If they foreclose on me, they get brick and mortar. They either get their interest or they get a property. If their money is inside Wall Street and it collapses, guess what they get? They can't foreclose on them, and a stockholder is the last person to get paid. So they get a nice, thank you, we tried, but your money's gone. And I explain this to all my private lenders. First thing we do when we get on the phone is we talk worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is you either get or you get. You either get your interest, and I stole this from Mitch Stevens. Thank you, Mitch. You either get your interest or you get a piece of cash flowing real estate. This is also from Mitch, but he breaks it out that, hey, the worst thing I can do for a private lender is pay them their interest. Because if they foreclose on me, they get a piece of great cash flowing real estate. And so the third thing that is in the back of my mind when I am going to close a private lender on a deal is the fact that I'm competing with banks for these deals. And I'm competing with Wall Street for these deals, who are both inherently bankrupt, which is why they need so much compliance, which is why they need so much regulation to create the illusion that they are actually doing something. So, Tim Scott, big time libertarian. This one is for you. So, once you understand fractional reserve banking and that it's legal and that it just is what it is, but it's inherently fraudulent, and we can have a debate whether that's good or bad, and that's been a 200-year debate, and I'm not here to give my opinion on it. I'm here to say that they are inherently bankrupt. So I know I'm not bankrupt. I know what I have inside my life insurance policies, and I know that I have cash flowing assets, that I'm not bankrupt. So when I sit down or I'm on the phone with these people, I know I have an advantage. And maybe that's me pumping myself up a little too much, or maybe that's the God honest truth. But at the end of the day, because of fractional reserve banking, all bankers do is they dispense newly created dollars created out of thin air, and they're just pushing it out. And that's why they have to be, this is not the subject of this video. I could probably do another video about fractional reserve banking, but they know that they have to show good accounts so that they can still get newly created money from the Fed. And that's why they have to move so slowly and be so careful. So at the end of the day, here's what I see with a bunch of libertarian and free market people is like, when you realize fractional reserve banking is inherently fraudulent, you have three choices. You cry in your Cheerios and you go to your Tea Party meetings and you piss and moan and you do nothing about it. Or you get super freaked out and think the entire economy is going to collapse and all the entrepreneurs out there will just stop creating things people want and you become a survivalist. That's option two. Or you learn the system, you understand the system, and you leverage the system to your advantage. And at the end of the day, that's what we'll be teaching at Lease Option Empire. And that is what we do at Joint Ops every day. The system has been created a certain way, and for an enterprising young American, it has been created so that you can leverage it and create cash flowing wealth for yourself, for your investors, and for your buyers. And when you do lease options, you can get your tenants on the road to getting into this system. Really the difference, I think what separates the middle class from the lower class is access to credit. And the first way someone gets access to credit is generally the house they live in. So that is what we are doing for our tenant buyers. We are getting them access to this credit system. So, like I said, you have your three choices: piss and moan, dig a ditch, and go live in it, or learn the system, love the system, and then grow and leverage the system, and then grow your business and start protecting the liquidity of your private lenders, start maximizing their capital, and start getting your tenant buyers into this system so they can leverage it as well. So tomorrow we're going to do, and if any of this is resonating with you, please share it. Please like our page. And check out leaseoptionempires.com. You can check out Joint Ops. That is our real estate holdings, and we sell to turnkey buyers out of that. And tomorrow we are going to talk about how we serve two underserved markets. And we're going to go through another book, because I love book reports, called The Forgotten Man. So I will see you on the next lift.